Thor, Korg, Valkyrie, and Thor's ex-girlfriend team up to defeat Gorr, the God Butcher. Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done a normal movie review, but I'm back now and I have some Jurassic Park toys on my desk, which instantly make me feel better about who I am and what I'm doing in life. How can I not just want to crush this? Take that, little Timmy! This is the fourth installment of a Thor film, and who would have thought that the character of Thor would have the most longevity and the most solo movies when it came to the MCU. I never imagined that would have happened, but I'm not complaining. Well, actually, I will be in a few minutes. But after that abomination against humanity known as Thor: The Dark World, they had to change up the tone and go a radically different direction with Thor Ragnarok. And I love Thor Ragnarok, probably more than I should. Now, going into Thor Love and Thunder, I had high expectations. It was one of my most anticipated movies of the year because I was such a fan of Ragnarok. And I think it's only fair to compare both movies because they are directed by the same director, Taika Waititi. And I will just say Thor Ragnarok is by far and away the better of the two movies. And we'll talk about why in just one second. But first, let's go to my living room and watch Thor Ragnarok. Don't get scared. Welcome to my magical and mystical living room where I want to talk about this video's sponsor, and we'll get right back to the review in just one second. If you like to be immersed into movies and feel the rumble of Thor's lightning or the devil's anus come to life, you're going to love this. Now let's talk about the Nakamichi Shockwave Ultra 9.2 E-Arc surround sound system. In the last month, I've watched probably 50 movies on this and countless TV shows, and I'm blown away every time I do. It's currently rated the best Dolby Atmos soundbar by both critics and users. And get ready for me to blow your hair back, it's the industry's only soundbar that has 2 subwoofers, 4 rear surround speakers, and 1300 watts of power. Just look at these dual subwoofers and look at the size of these bad boys. The first time I hooked these up and played a movie, it literally made my insides tingle, and that's the best recommendation I can say when it comes to this surround sound system. And one of the best things is, not only does it sound amazing, it was super easy to hook up. You just plug and play, and with the E-Arc, you can control it with your normal TV remote, or you can use the system's remote for easy, quick settings. And with dual subwoofers, the rumble is on both sides of you, so you truly get immersed. So every time Hulk punches Thor in the face, you feel like you're getting punched in the face. When it comes to films or cinema, the audio quality is just as important as the picture quality. Click the link down below to Amazon to get a closer look at the Nakamichi soundbar. I highly recommend it, check it out. Now let's talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. At times, this feels more like a cartoon than a live-action Thor movie. At other times, it tries to be dramatic, but it's always tonally inconsistent. And throughout this film, there's some ideas where I wish they would have expanded on those things and gave them a little more time to develop, and there's other things that happen in this film where I wish they would have just cut them out completely. For example, there's this running gag with these screaming goats that show up 5 times throughout the movie. It wasn't funny the first time, and it certainly wasn't funny the 5th time. Now, if you think I hate this movie, calm down, because I think this is an entertaining film. It's easy enough to get through. The runtime is one of the shortest MCU films ever made, and from start to finish, I didn't hate watching the movie, I just kept thinking to myself, this is a major step down from its predecessor. But just because I didn't hate watching this and it's mildly entertaining at times, that doesn't mean it's a good film, and that doesn't mean it's the movie that it could have been. For example, it feels very choppy at times. It almost feels like there's scenes and moments missing that really would have helped to establish what some characters are doing and make you feel something along the way. Now let's talk about Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, and this time around, Jane Foster has become the mighty Thor, the female version of Thor. So I guess it's finally nice to see that Jane Foster has a purpose for being in a Thor movie other than being the damsel in distress. The way her character becomes mighty Thor in this film just feels very anticlimactic. It's like, okay, Jane Foster is now the female version of Thor. But where did she learn all these combat and fighting skills from? I know that she has the powers, but when it comes to the character of Thor, he's been around for thousands of years. He's been in battles and wars. But in Thor: Love and Thunder, it just feels so abrupt the way they went about it. Now let's talk about the villain of the film, played by Christian Bale, Gorr the God Butcher. And it's not the first time Christian Bale has butchered someone. Hey Paul, do you like Huey Lewis in the News? I know I do. And when it comes to the MCU, we were due for another great iconic villain who could chew up the scenery and be a memorable foe, because in my opinion, the hero is only as good as the villain. And when it comes to Gorr the God Butcher in this film, I liked the character motivation, I bought into it, I love me some Christian Bale. I just really feel like the character in this film needed more screen time to elevate the character and make him feel like a bigger threat, because it sort of just feels like he pops in every 20 minutes, does something and disappears, and then Thor's back to his comedic slapstick comedy routine where it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon, and then it goes back to Gore the God Butcher, who has this very serious, somber, dark tone, and the two tones just really clash with one another. And listen, what we did get was great, we just needed more of it. And here's my thing, when it comes to Marvel and Disney, they have these great actors playing these roles, but I feel like they need to give them a little bit more room to breathe because they feel so suppressed and controlled at times. For example, take Heath Ledger's The Joker. He was able to make that character his own and do little improv scenes and just really transform it into something more than just what was written on the script. And that's what the MCU needs. Now let's talk about the God of Thunder himself, Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor. And oh my God, that man got so buff for this. This is the buffest he's ever been as Thor. His biceps should have had their own lines of dialogue at times because they were just moving and twitching. It immediately made me want to go to the gym after this movie and just start doing bicep curls. I'm a huge fan of Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and I don't really have any complaints about his performance in this movie. It's just where the story took him and what they did with him. More or less, he goes on this rescue mission, and it sort of feels like this subplot that would have been in another Thor movie, but not the main story. Yeah, when it comes to the character of Thor in this film, it sort of feels like he took a back seat in his own movie at times. But then again, I don't know who was in the front seat, because you think it should be the villain of the film, you think it should be Jane Foster at times, and it's like the movie can't really pick and choose who they want to focus on, so it never does a great job of focusing on anyone. Now let's talk about the comedy. I think 50% of it works. I think the other 50% of it just feels like jokes tacked in there that don't really have a place in the sequence. They're just cheap laughs. For example, those stupid screaming goats that I still close my eyes and have nightmares about. And once again, I think it's only fair to compare these two movies, but Thor Ragnarok's jokes and humor, it fit the sequences, it elevated the scenes, and it fit so perfectly, and I still remember a lot of the jokes in that movie. Baby arms. In this movie, it just feels like SNL jokes tacked in there for the sake of a cheap laugh that don't really have the payoff or the build-up. Now, here are my final flicking thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. I honestly really didn't give a shit about the love in this movie. I liked some of the thunder from Chris Hemsworth. Overall, this is an entertaining movie. It's easy to watch. If you're bored on a Saturday night, eating some frozen pizza, some popcorn, you have some friends over, you don't know what else to watch, yeah, this is easy to get through, but I don't know who would ever pick this over Thor Ragnarok. The best way to describe this film is it just feels rushed at times. It feels like they were trying to get to the finish line like Game of Thrones Season 8. Sure, you get some of the highlights, you get some moments from your favorite characters, and there's some fun stuff in this film, but overall it just feels hollow by the end of it, and it feels like there was so much more room and potential to make it bigger and better than it was. But it is a mildly entertaining mess of a movie. So with all that said, I'm going to give Thor: Love and Thunder this right here. It's not a boring movie. I think young kids will probably really love it and be entertained. I just don't feel like it's a strong placeholder in the MCU by this point. And I think when it comes to the discussions down the road, people will always reference Thor Ragnarok, while Thor: Love and Thunder will be quickly forgotten. But hey, maybe Thor 5 will be better because I have an assumption that it's definitely coming eventually down the road. But those are my... Yeah, I'm still getting used to having shit on my desk, but here's my question for you guys, and let me know down below. What did you guys think about the movie if you've seen it? Or what is your favorite Marvel Phase 4 film thus far? As always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. That way, I can see you next time. Bye-bye.